Hello everyone, Argsy here. Welcome back to the channel. Today, thank you very much to Thrustmaster, we are taking a look at their brand new Sim Task Farm Stick, sitting right there, and the Sim Task steering kit that we have got set up here in front of us, running the T248 steering wheel for PlayStation and PC. Now, if you're new to the channel, you might not know, but I have been a controller player since day one. Since I first picked up Farming Simulator, I've been using PlayStation controllers and recently switched over to the Thrustmaster XWAT Pro controller, which I've absolutely loved. But for me, to jump into using a steering wheel has been a bit of a step into the unknown, and to say it was simple to set up, it was simple to set up, and I'll go through that, but a very steep learning curve. It's also almost like learning the game again for the first time ever. So come along, I'll go through, show you how we get it all set up, what's involved, and then we'll test it out on a few pieces of equipment and see how it all works. So first things first, we'll take a quick look here at the Sim Task steering kit. Now, like I said, we've got the T248. It does only work with Thrustmaster steering wheels, so that's the first limitation with it, and only the T248 and the T148. Quite a snug fit in through here where the steering wheel body sits, screwed up on a couple of brackets right there through the bottom. The saw side knob here is a little bit of an addition. I have heard of some people who have had issues getting it tight, and it's not the tightest, snuggest fit. Does come with a couple of rubber mounts which you can put in there which suit the two different steering wheels. We've obviously got it set up here on the T248, but in terms of steering and turning, it works out really well. Now, where this really shines is its level of adjustment. So knobs here on both sides, you can loosen these off and basically have a full range of motion. I'll just get these all loosened off very quickly on both sides. I've found that you can adjust it on one side, tighten it up to your preference, and then basically level it out on the other side. So just get this here. Hard to see now. If you want to use it for a sim racing rig, obviously I'd have to lower my seat down from where we are, but you can bring that right down the bottom and adjust where all those slide. So there's a huge amount of degree of adjustment there. Exactly how far it goes. You can adjust things and bring that back up. Again, swivel that up. It sits a lot higher than I had it before, so that's quite a lot higher. Bring that back down and sit it in there. It's just a little bit lower. So huge amount of adjustment, easily enough to tighten those up and hold it in position when you're ready. But obviously the biggest limitation with it is you do need to have one of these wheels, the 148 or the T248, to make it work. But where the Thrustmaster setup really shines is the fact that the Sim Task Farm Stick is a standalone and not reliant on having this piece of equipment. So that's enough for the steering wheel. Everything else does what it does. It's a nice steering wheel. We'll get through that a little bit more once we get into it, but the main thing I did want to look at today is the farm stick. So let's go and take a look at that. Taking a look here at the farm stick. It is a joystick in all intent purposes. It's got forward and backwards, quite a big range of motion. Got a X-axis there, you can twist it around and get that turning. And then obviously the main feature is all the buttons, 32 all up, I believe. And Thrustmaster have actually provided a really helpful guide which goes through what all the default keybinds are. What that doesn't help with though is what the numbers are. So each of these buttons here is assigned a number all through the top. The 6 down the side here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6 on the other side, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They're clearly numbered, but the rest, while they have a function and are identifiable, you can't figure that out without having the manual. So if you download a copy of the PDF manual for the joystick off the Thrustmaster website, you can find out what each individual button is. So if, for example, you're wanting to map this button here to a different command and want to know what number it is, go through the manual and find that out. Now in terms of the actual joystick, it's actually got a really good grasp on it. It's got this nice ledge on the bottom. And in terms of holding it, it's really nice to have in your hand. Now, I've got next door to me there the T16000M, and compared side to side, this one here is actually quite a lot smaller in your hand, obviously designed for different preferences or different purposes. This has the thumb there on there for the right hand model. Obviously the left handed one has that screwed on to the other side, but the biggest difference obviously is the number of buttons. You know, there's 6 buttons down that side, a couple more around that side on the T16000M. This little throttle body there, which is obviously good if you're flying or something like that, but not quite as helpful for Farming Simulator. But otherwise, everything else much the same, and as you can see there, much the same size, but certainly a little bit different to feel in your hand. So a little bit of a unique nature there. I must admit, I do find that the farm stick is a little bit more comfortable to hold when you're using it for an extended period. So I'm not going to go through all of the buttons, but you can see from this image the plug and play PC mapping that does come with the SimTask Farm Stick. So when you first plug it in, this is what everything is mapped to. You can see obviously a few different ranges depending what you're doing. We've got a working mode and a driving mode, and you can use the switch on the back there to toggle between those two different modes. And that can change what you're doing. Obviously these three buttons here on driving mode are all free to map, so you can go through and do what you'd like to do with those. Otherwise, a lot of them are very self-explanatory when you look at the logo or the symbol that's used on them. Turn on and off the tool there is clearly the PTO symbol that's used in most tractors. We've got the raise and lower tool there. That's obviously a very identifiable symbol as well. Again, the hydraulic ram there, which is used to fold and unfold the tools. Again, I think that makes a lot of sense. Got the button down the bottom here, which is for attaching and detaching your equipment, which looks like a link and does exactly what it says. Buttons either side are your change between tractors, so you can toggle forward or back, much like you would on a D-pad or using your tab button and control tab to go backwards, just normal tab to go forwards. Start, that's your engine start, so very clearly identify what that button there does. As for the others, we've got either side here are our indicators. And then there's a whole lot down this side which are related to the shop, the main menu, getting in and out of your vehicle, toggling your map size, hiring AI, and a lot of the buttons down here on the left hand side all relate to lights, beacon lights. You can switch between your tools with those as well. And like I said, if you download the SimTask Farm Stick manual from Thrustmaster, we'll just scroll through this very quickly. It's got some install instructions, box contents, features, and things like that, getting to know your joystick, but we'll just carry on going down here very quickly. And it does show what all the different buttons do. So we'll carry on through all of that, and it's got some very useful diagrams a little bit further down. And so there you go, you can see the mapping of the buttons and axes there. This is all the buttons on the base, and on the next page gives you all the buttons located up here on the top of the joystick. So if you wanted to know what each button does and what number it relates to, you can see quite clearly where they all stand. One of the cool little features, and we'll get into this in more detail when we start out having a play with it, but drive mode and work mode. Now on the back, the top button here, you can't see, but I'm going to click that. You can see the LED light there on the front of the joystick changes color. Now when it is orange, it's in drive mode, and these two switches, the rocker switches and the thumb wheel, have different functions in drive mode versus work mode. So that allows these buttons to provide you with more features and more opportunities to use them in different ways. So again, very clever little system there to switch between and basically expand the usability of the joystick. So first off, we'll start off in a simple piece of equipment here, the Kubota with the Kubota front loader and a bale grab on the front. Now first things first, put our start button down there on the bottom of the key of the joystick, and that will start your engine. Got the attach and detach button. I'm not going to do that because that will detach our front loader. We've got to be selected on that too. We can go through, select backwards our tractor or next tool, and forwards our next tool, so back and forth between those. Now I went through some of these a little bit earlier. Up the hat top here we've got the top hat, which allows us to twist around, swivel and look. We can clip through any views by pushing down on that, so it does have a button as well as the 4-axis movement. We've got our scroll wheel here, which you need to be in drive mode to be able to activate. So the white light's on there. You can zoom in and out when it's with the orange light in work mode. Got no key bindings set to that at the moment. Other things, indicators, left and right indicators down here. We've got an array of lights. So these are our lights going on. Toggle through those. We can click through. There's a beacon light somewhere. Here we go. There's the beacons. Horn. Don't seem to have anything attached to those two, so a couple there that might have some key bindings. You can refer back to the quick guide I showed at the start, which will show what those are by default. The other side over here, we can go through mini-map, scroll through there, we can open and close the shop, we can bring up the main map, and if we go up to the button up here, we'll close that. We can hop in and out of our tractor, open that again, so there's obviously a couple of options there, and that brings up our main help menu up in the top corner. So those are the main functions as we look at it, but obviously we're more interested to see how the joystick works for manipulating the tool on the front. So get out here into the sun, we'll drive, we've got some bales around the corner which we can go and attach to. So, as you'd expect, basic up and down there, forward and backwards, and then tilt the head left and right. Now, there's two buttons on the front. We press the bottom of the buttons and move that left and right, and open and close the grapple there, and we can raise and lower the loader at the same time using those multiple axes. We obviously can't tilt and open and close at the same time, but we of course can tilt and raise and lower at the same time, depending on which way you're pointing. So let's have a look, see if we can grab a bale here, get that nice and opened up, tilted around, go try and get lined up on top of those bales and see if we can pick one up. Just bear in mind, this is one of my first goes, I'm going to do this with a wheel rather than my usual controller. So got that there. One other change I've made since we're talking is I have changed the brake on the pedals to use the clutch on the left hand side rather than using the brake in the middle. Being a racing wheel, the T248, it has quite a tight spring in the brake, which makes it a little bit harder to use without making your chair roll all around. It's obviously designed to be set up in a racing sim rig or something like that where you're a little bit more immobilized. There we go, that is everything there. Up and moving around. Very easy to manipulate. A little bit of a learning curve there once you get your head around it, but muscle memory will bring back exactly what to do. Go and put that back where it was, and then we'll go have a little bit of a play with something else. Just testing things out here in the class Scorpion. Again, same raise and lower there, tilt on the head. Obviously no attachments or anything attached here, but to extend the arm I'm pushing down on the button at the front and using the toggle switch there on the left, pushing that forward and backwards to extend and retract the arm there. So again, there, that is all part. Now again, like I said, these are all base setup. This is how it is, plug and play. I haven't changed anything apart from the brake setting on the pedals and steering wheel. Everything else is as it came out of the box, so works pretty well, pretty easy, pretty straightforward, and does what it should do. Very nice. Right, as you can see in the back there, we've got a wood processing unit just to try out, to go and see how that goes. I'm just taking a look here at a processing unit for wood processing. We'll turn the PTO on, press that button, that will open our processing head and get things up and running, ready to cut down a tree. Typical up and down there of the main arm, and the twist function, turn the processing head, and the left and right on the joystick will slew the head left and right. Now again, we need to use the two toggle switches or bumper switches here. One on the left will raise and lower that boom up, and the one on the right there will extend and retract the head. So a bit of a combination there. We can raise and lower while we're doing that. We could be raising and lowering, but it goes out very, very fast. Getting things set up there. Of course, we can go through and have a look at our different settings there, our different camera settings, as well as the one there on the processing unit, so you can get a good close view. And that's just clicking on the top hat there, so everything seems to work out pretty well. I'm pretty impressed actually with the keybinds as default. It would take a little bit of getting used to, but I think once you've got your head around where they all are and where they sit, where they work, it's probably going to become pretty intuitive. Just like anything, a little bit of a learning curve or some muscle memory to come through there. And one other thing to think about is when you're on foot, I'm so used to using a controller that it's just second nature to walk around with that. Obviously you don't want to be going between keyboard, mouse, joystick and steering wheel. On foot we can look around there, use our forward to move forward, sideways, obviously sideways on the joystick, and backwards as well. So you've got your full range of motion here, moving around left, right, forwards, backwards, and of course the turning. So you're doing that all with one hand. Let's look at some of the basic equipment here in FS22. Obviously I could go through a number of different things, how it works in a combine, how it works in a forage harvester, what's it like driving a truck with a steering wheel, all of those kind of things, but I think that is enough of a look here at the SimTask farm stick, give you an idea on how all the different pieces work. There is a couple of other things I do want to test out though. I am aware there's still quite a few people are still playing in FS19, so one question I had, is the SimTask farm stick compatible with FS19? Well, let's go and try it, see what happens. Well, a bit of a blast from the past here in FS19. Now, going to options, you can see here we've got device, sim task, farm stick right. Let's pick that up, and it's also got our steering wheel in there. However, if we go into our gamepad, actually got no default controls. I've gone through and reset them all, and we've actually got nothing in there. A few down there actually for auto drive, but other than that, doesn't look like anything is going to work. Let's just have a quick look. I do want to see if we can try and set up some of these to work. So if we go into gamepad, press start, there you go, there, our sim task farm stick right has picked up button 25 there. So if we're just going to save our controls, okay, we're going to start a game and just see if we can start and stop an engine using the buttons, because that should tell me that you could go through and set up any controls and customize the game to work with these two devices. We're here on Felsbrunn with the starting equipment next to the Fendt Favorite 511C. If we just hop into that, press our start button down here, and you'll hear our engine start up. So while I haven't gone through and customized anything else, I'd suggest from this that it would be entirely possible to use both the steering wheel and the farm stick here in FS19. So while it's not plug and play, you've got the time and the patience to go through and customize all your keybinds to use it, I think it would be feasible. And just to give you a little bit more confidence, here's a telehandler, gone through, got the engine working, and indeed we can lift and pivot and rotate and extend arms. So 100% confident that the farm stick would work in FS19. So even if you don't have 22, you would be able to get it set up in here with some good keybinds. Just a little bit of patience to get it going. So yeah, don't let the fact you're still playing FS19 put you off using this in your game. There we go, there's my first look at the Thrustmaster Sim Task Farm Stick and the Thrustmaster Sim Task Steering Kit. A couple of really cool bits of equipment. It's taken me a little bit of getting used to using them, and I'm still only just getting into the habit of it. I've still wanted to default using my controller, obviously being a controller player for a long time. That is what's my bread and butter. So much muscle memory there using those. So it's going to take a while to convert me fully using the steering wheel and the joystick, but I can see some real potential and real immersion. The one gripe I must have to say, and this is probably more with a farming simulator issue, is the lack of customization for keybinds and ability to have multiple pieces of equipment, multiple peripherals. At the moment, there's two columns for gamepads and game controllers, and the way these are defaulted, steering wheels in one column, and a lot of the sim task keybinds are split across the two of them. What I want to do, and I need to investigate a little bit more, is whether the controller can be configured into one of the columns and the farm stick and the steering wheel in the other column, which allows me to swap between depending how I want to play. I don't want to have the wheel set up here in front of me all the time. I've taken it off the desk and just want to have a bit of a chill out, or want to do something that doesn't need the steering wheel and the joystick all the time. I'd love to be able to connect the controller back up and be able to use that. At the moment, the only way I've found to do that is swap my input bindings. So I have one that's saved for controller, one that's saved for the wheel, and I just swap out between them as and when needed. So that's a little bit of a workaround. It's not ideal, but it is possible to do it. You just have to be a little bit diligent with which one you're editing, one you're using when, and making sure you change it before you start the game up. But that would be my only comment around it all, and obviously it's got nothing to do with Thrustmaster. That's purely down to the way that the game has all of the input codings allocated. So something maybe that we might see in the future. Who knows? Anyhow, thank you again to Thrustmaster for sending me the farm stick and the steering wheel kit, as well as the steering wheel, to be able to give this a proper test out. That's it. Honestly, I think if you were looking for a joystick, this would be a good one to get. If you'd been on the fence about whether to get the C16000s, certainly give it some consideration. Joy of it, you don't need a steering wheel. If you still want to use your keyboard and use that for driving and doing the vehicle controls, you can use the joystick for the other tasks. So there we have it. Hope you've enjoyed that. Hope you found that useful. I'm hoping to have a review of the other peripheral that is coming out very soon for you in the coming days as well. So keep an eye out for that, and we might do a little bit of a comparison between the two to help you choose which one you want to do. But for me, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed that. I'll catch you in the next one.